She never imagined this could happen. Her prince fiancé had cheated on her right in front of her. Then she suddenly remembered. She had been transported into her favorite dating game. And of all things, she had become Tiara Rose, the game's villainous heiress. The shock was too much, and she fainted on the spot. When she came to, the prince was standing beside her, but he sneered, asking whether she had done it to get his attention. Had she deliberately pretended to collapse? After all his attention was focused on Akali. To make matters worse, the prince would not attend tomorrow's graduation ball with her. The heroine was helpless, but there was nothing she could do. Entering without her fiancé would be humiliating. As for Akali, she was the game's female lead. Because she possessed immense magical power, she entered the aristocratic academy as a saint. There, she met the prince, and the two fell in love. In the game, the prince gently whispered sweet words to Akali. By the end, they would hold a grand wedding. Meanwhile, as the villainous heiress, she would be convicted of framing Akali on the day of the graduation ball. The prince would publicly and humiliatingly break off their engagement. But she had never done any of those things. After all, Tiara Rose was born into a marquis's family. She had parents who loved her. Since childhood, she had been trained to become the future princess consort. Her father, the chancellor, had always taught her through words and example. He taught her that if her future husband went astray, she must set him right. Perhaps that was why she had sometimes been too strict with the prince. Her love never reached him. Instead, it backfired and made him resent her. Just as the game predicted, the prince fell for someone else. Yet she still couldn't escape her role as the villainous heiress. The heroine felt anxious. She had no idea what would happen next. The next day, her friends all stood up for her. That Akali has no shame. She knew the prince was engaged, yet she clung to him and refused to let go. Although the heroine had mentally prepared herself, she was still terrified. Her maid suggested asking the marquis to escort her into the ball, but she gently refused. Her father had official duties to attend to, even though she could already imagine how furious he would be when he saw her enter alone. To cheer her up, her maid prepared plenty of desserts. She had loved sweets even before her reincarnation, since the condemnation scene couldn't be avoided. Being afraid would accomplish nothing. Then Akali, that two-faced manipulator, forced her way into the room and pretended to be concerned. She claimed she had been worried when the heroine fainted in class yesterday. She even said the prince missed her. The prince soon followed. In front of Akali, he hypocritically asked after the heroine's health. When the ball officially began, the heroine entered alone and immediately became the center of attention. Everyone began to whisper, who was the woman beside the prince? Had he finally stopped pretending? The prince publicly announced that he would break off their engagement. When her father prepared to explode, the heroine shook her head at him. She asked the prince for his reason. The prince gave an outrageous answer. She should figure it out herself. But she didn't understand. She had never done anything shameful. If the prince wanted to marry someone else, he could simply follow the proper procedure. The prince flew into a rage. He accused the heroine of disrespecting the royal family. He claimed she knew Akali had a lowly background, yet deliberately said many cruel things to her. But that was because Akali didn't understand the customs of this country. The heroine had only kindly reminded her several times. You even made Akali kneel and pay respects to me. You said that, didn't you? Your Highness is a prince. Kneeling and greeting is simply a duty she must fulfill. You also said she wasn't allowed to dance with me, didn't you? That was because Miss Akali had already danced with your highness more than twice. That signifies an engagement. Are you saying that, as a prince, your highness doesn't even know that? Surely not. The prince was rendered speechless. He began wildly accusing her of being cruel to Akali. By then, the heroine realized, you can never wake someone who is pretending to sleep. Whether Akali had captured his heart, or the world itself was correcting the storyline, everything was now exactly like the game's plot. Since the prince had become someone else's devoted lapdog, she agreed to end their engagement. The prince eagerly announced that he and Akali were officially engaged as of that day. Akali would be the future queen. The heroine wasn't too devastated. After all, she still had loving parents, close friends, and a maid who cared about her. But she never expected the prince to be so heartless. He suddenly convicted her of harming the future queen. He ordered her exile abroad to fend for herself. The heroine felt as if the sky had collapsed. This was the one thing she absolutely couldn't accept. But the prince's order could not be defied. At the critical moment, the male lead suddenly appeared to defend her. He walked straight to the heroine's side as though no one else existed. She remembered that he was the male lead of the game's sequel, the first prince of the Haisen kingdom. She had fallen for him the moment she first saw the character. Unfortunately, she had reincarnated before the sequel was released. She never expected to see him here. The male lead declared that she was more honorable and beautiful than anyone else. Her former fiancé was displeased. He told the male lead to stay out of it. The heroine's wicked deeds had to be punished. The male lead could take no more. Compared with the heroine, the prince's words were far more vicious. He had broken off an engagement at an occasion meant for celebration, then publicly accused and humiliated a lady without cause. Such conduct disgraces him as a prince from another nation. This has nothing to do with you. Of course it does, and it concerns me deeply. Now that the heroine's engagement had been broken, the male lead immediately dropped to one knee and proposed. I've always longed to have you. For a long time? Why would the prince from the sequel propose to me? Propose? The heroine happily accepted his proposal, but things soon took an outrageous turn. Akali was the first to step forward and object. Until moments ago, she was still my fiance's fiancée. She was sharp-tongued and cruel. She wasn't worthy of being with the male lead. Akali absolutely refused to give him up to Tiara Rose. The male lead pulled his arm away in disgust and scolded her. Tiara Rose is already my fiancée. How dare you cling to my arm? Lord Yakesi is so gentle. He wouldn't get angry over something like that. Insolent. Take her away. Why? That's right. The plot was truly absurd. In his own country, the prince watched his own fiancée get taken away at the command of another nation's prince. Yet he could only stand there helplessly and watch. It was ridiculous. The heroine never imagined she would reincarnate as the villainous young lady in her favorite dating game, only to be framed by the game's heroine and lose her fiancé. But just as she was condemned and her engagement was broken, the sequel's male lead suddenly appeared and proposed to her. She simply couldn't understand. Why would Prince Yakesi propose to me, a villainous heiress? She had no idea that Yakesi had long since fallen hopelessly in love with her. Although Yakesi and the heroine were classmates, they had barely ever spoken. Yet he had always watched her through the library window. The heroine loved reading beneath the shade of a tree. Her lively, adorable expressions embarrassed her deeply. She had only avoided the crowds so she could enjoy her snacks in peace. She never expected him to see everything. When Yakesi finally came to his senses, he realized he had become hopelessly infatuated with her. But the heroine was Prince Heart's fiancée. He had no right, morally or otherwise, to interfere in another prince's romance. He had planned to hide his feelings forever, then return home after studying abroad and forget her. He never expected such a heaven-sent opportunity. Since Heart didn't treasure the heroine, Yakesi naturally wouldn't let the chance to confess his feelings slip away. The heroine was stunned. She never expected him to say something like that so casually. He truly was a character from a dating game. Before long, the carriage had brought the heroine home. He took the initiative and invited her on a date. The heroine agreed. She had graduated, after all, and she had plenty of free time. So they agreed to meet again in 3 days. When she arrived home, she found her Marquis father and made berating Prince Heart for casting aside the family's most precious jewel. He was hopelessly stupid. Still, at least they had finally seen Heart's true colors. Her mother wanted to know about Prince Yakesi's proposal. How did the heroine plan to respond? For now, she felt she wasn't worthy of him. After all, a villainous heiress marrying a prince from a neighboring country. Could something so absurd really happen? Meanwhile, Heart finally came to his senses. He wanted to meet Akali, that two-faced manipulator. Only belatedly did he realize that he might have made the wrong judgment. Akali was delighted to see Heart. It's so boring here. She hoped he would release her soon, but Heart was disappointed by her reaction. Had she not thought about what happened at the ball? But Akali's reaction was outrageous. She was still jealous of Prince Yakesi's proposal to the heroine. She wanted Heart to take her to Yakesi, so Prince Yakesi would not be deceived. Akali left Heart speechless. He asked whether the heroine truly had done nothing wrong at the ball. Guilty, Akali avoided answering directly. She only said the heroine's harsh words had hurt her deeply. But as long as Heart was with her, she felt safe. Little did he know, Akali was also reincarnated. She was simply a two-faced manipulator. She never expected the main game's story to be over. Yet the villainess still had a role to play. Still, she insisted on learning about Prince Yakesi. She claimed she did not want him hurt like she was. Heart was disappointed. Even with him, she was thinking about another man. At last, he realized he had done something foolish beyond undoing. Meanwhile, the heroine was torn over the proposal. After all, Yakesi was a main romance option in the sequel. She could not imagine a villainous heiress becoming a future queen. What if the sequel's heroine appeared? Yakesi might change his heart, just like Heart. Then someone threw a stone from the balcony, striking her window. Yakesi was standing below. Then he leaped straight up to the second floor. Do not ask. He was basically Superman. He had something he wanted to show her. It was called the Fairy Star Festival, much to her surprise. After all, the Fairy Star Festival was an event from the game. Only the character with the highest affection rating for the heroine could see it with her. It was not yet time for it to happen. But Yakesi could use magic. It is so beautiful. Prince Yakesi, I am relieved you like it. Those golden eyes, like shining stars. I feel like I could drown in them. Meanwhile, the king already knew that Heart had visited the confined Akali. So, had he learned anything? Heart had now come to his senses. He knew Akali had deceived him. He should have listened to the heroine more. Unbeknownst to him, The heroine had said the same thing, yet she had not blamed Heart. Some only realize another's worth after losing them. Looking back now, the heroine had often reprimanded him, but she had always thought of the kingdom's future. Everything was for his future as prince. Sadly, no matter how much Heart regretted it, the broken engagement could never be restored. 3 days later, the day of their date arrived. Her thoughtful maid prepared a coral hair ornament from Yakesi's homeland. Surely the prince would be delighted. The prince took her to a beautiful field of flowers. They spread a blanket beneath a tree and rested. The heroine brought out cakes and pastries she had baked. She loved both eating them and making them. As she chatted on enthusiastically, Yakesi found her utterly adorable. If he could, he would listen to her forever. Then he picked up a pastry and fed it to her. Even the way she ate was adorable. Miss Tiara rose. If you would allow it, may I call you Tiara? Of course, Prince Yakesi. The two embraced without thinking. Embarrassed and worried someone might see them, the heroine's heart raced. But Yakesi felt exactly the same. Lord Yakesi's heart was racing too. This is still too embarrassing. I was too impatient. Forgive me. But, Tiara, you look as though you are asking me for a kiss. What a shame. I meant to take things slowly and go on a few more dates. It seems I cannot. After their sweet date ended, the heroine finally decided to accept his proposal. Her father would be lonely when his daughter married abroad, but nothing mattered more than her happiness. But when the heroine came to Yakesi's castle that day, she unexpectedly ran into Prince Heart. To her surprise, Heart bowed and apologized for what happened at the ball. Seeing a character she once loved pull himself together made the heroine feel relieved. She quickly told the prince to raise his head. Royalty represents the nation. How could he bow so easily to someone else? Seeing that she still cared for him as she always had, Heart instinctively moved toward her. Prince Heart, what do you think you are doing to my fiancée? The heroine never imagined that after reincarnating as a villainous heiress in a dating game, the game's scheming heroine, Akali, was reincarnated too and stole her prince fiancé. Now that she had found true love again, Akali still refused to let it go. She would not even spare her new prince fiancé. A year earlier, Yakesi had come to the heroine's country to study abroad. His handsome looks and royal status quickly won him countless admirers, but he had no interest in those vapid young women. His favorite pastime was spending hours in the library. There, he unexpectedly saw the girl who made his heart skip a beat. Only afterward did he learn that she was Prince Heart's fiancée. Her graceful words and gentle tone, along with her flawless manners, left Yakesi completely captivated. But as a foreign prince, he could only bury his feelings. Whenever rain suddenly began to fall, he would secretly use magic to change the weather. Even if he could only help her from afar, that alone gave him a little happiness. If I just say hello to her, if I reach out, I could touch her. But I cannot. I must never do that. His guard suggested that he simply speak to the heroine, but Yakesi refused. After all, she was Prince Heart's fiancée. He could not do something so immoral. Knowing this tender first love was destined to remain unfulfilled, all he could do was pray for her happiness, until the day he saw the heroine suffer because of Heart's betrayal, then collapse on the spot from the shock. He hurriedly carried her to the infirmary. He knew it was all because of that woman. She had suddenly enrolled at the academy out of nowhere, then suddenly become involved with Prince Heart. Rumors spread that Prince Heart would abandon the heroine and choose Akali instead. Heart only arrived afterward, putting on a hollow show of concern. With no choice, Yakesi left. No matter what, only Heart, her fiancé, had the right to stay by her side. Yakesi forced down his turbulent emotions. They would graduate tomorrow anyway. Yet on that important day, Heart publicly announced that he was breaking off his engagement to the heroine. Yakesi knew his chance had come. The moment Heart said he would become engaged to Akali, Yakesi immediately stepped in and confessed to the heroine. Afterward, he sent a proposal letter to her home, stating that he wished to become engaged to her and bring her back to his homeland. Before long, his wish came true. He received a reply accepting the marriage. The heroine also suddenly said she wanted to see him that day. He had only just finished his work for the day when he saw Heart making a move on the heroine. Why? After all this, Prince Heart needs. What do you intend to do to my precious fiancée? Yakesi shamelessly kissed the heroine's hair in public, then held her close to make his claim clear. Heart could only stare in stunned disbelief. He could not believe she was formally engaged to Yakesi. Watching them leave before his eyes, Heart knew it was too late for regret. Meanwhile, Akali, the game's heroine, remained confined. Since Heart came to his senses, he had not visited her in a long time. Akali was jealous. She was supposed to be the game's heroine. So why were all the romance targets focused on one villainous heiress? I love Lord Yakesi too. I am the heroine. Oh, that is it. I have thought of the perfect plan. Yakesi led the heroine to a secluded place. Being alone with her really was best. Though she had accepted his proposal in her letter, he still wanted to hear her say it in person. I would be delighted. Tiara, I love you. Tiara is too adorable. I could not resist. I am sorry. No. I am so embarrassed I could die. But I am so happy. But just as their feelings were burning bright, a burst of sacred light erupted in the distance. The heroine felt as if the sky had collapsed again. As a player, She knew exactly what it was. It was the game's spell, Sacred Prayer. A rare spell only one person in this world could use. A holy light with absolute cleansing power. It could cover an entire nation, repel calamity, and bring peace. Its wielder was Akali, the heroine of the first game. When the holy light finally faded, the heroine's heart remained unsettled. Sacred Prayer was a power every nation coveted. She feared that if Yakesi wanted that power too, she would be abandoned again. Seeing how worried she was, Yakesi promised her that no matter what happened, he would protect her. The heroine never imagined she would reincarnate as a villainous heiress in a dating game. Even more absurdly, the game's heroine was reincarnated too, and loved stealing other girls' prince fiancés. Not long before, just as she and Yakesi were lost in each other, a brilliant light suddenly burst forth in the distance. As a player, the heroine knew exactly that it was the first game's heroine using Sacred Prayer. She feared that if events followed the game, Yakesi, the sequel's male lead and romance target, might be won over by Akali as well. Then a knight appeared to report that the light was caused by a malfunctioning magical device, so the heroine needed to return first. But Yakesi soon received the real report. Prince Heart's fiancé had awakened Sacred Prayer. That made things complicated. Sacred Prayer was a power every nation desired. Whoever possessed it could ensure their country's peace. Its wielder would usually marry into royalty. Most likely, Prince Heart would marry Akali too. Since then, the heroine and Yakesi had not met for 10 days. She still knew nothing about Sacred Prayer. Her father, the Chancellor, surely knew, but she could not ask about it carelessly. Meanwhile, Akali remained confined. She could not understand why Yakesi had not come for her. She thought that once she revealed Sacred Prayer, he would surely want her immediately. Then she could live happily ever after with the sequel's male lead. That was how it was supposed to go. But 2 weeks had passed. Ugh, Lord Yakesi, please come quickly. 2 weeks later, Yakesi finally came to visit. He said Akali's engagement had been finalized. The heroine immediately grew anxious. Who was Akali engaged to? She would not have been surprised if Yakesi wanted Akali for her power. She just had not expected someone to steal her fiancé again. But Yakesi had only said half of it. The one formerly engaged to Akali was Heart. At last, the heroine was relieved. Tears involuntarily welled in her eyes. She was so afraid of being abandoned again. Yakesi assured her again and again that she was the only one he would ever choose. I am sorry I made you worry. There, do not cry. I am not crying. How strange. Lord Yakesi, darling, I missed you so much. I missed you too. But that night, Akali suddenly teleported into the heroine's bedroom. Then she asked a shocking question. Was the heroine a player too? The heroine understood at once. Akali was reincarnated too. After all, only the heroine differed from the game. Every other character was following the story. I do not understand what you are talking about. Do not play dumb. Akali was displeased. She had planned to marry Heart and live happily ever after. Who knew her favorite sequel male lead would appear? Yakesi was a romance target in the sequel. She thought choosing Heart, her second favorite, would be fine. But if she could marry Yakesi, of course she still wanted to choose Yakesi. Akali wondered whether the heroine was unfamiliar with the sequel. The heroine immediately took the bait. Her reaction was answer enough. The heroine admitted she died before she could play the sequel. Heh. So that means you died before playing the sequel? How could that even happen? How pitiful. There has never been a better romance game for girls. Lord Heartneeds is charming too, of course. But Lord Yakesi from the sequel is far more charming. The sequel's heroine is named Yixila. She is the Duke's daughter of Luosi. She was the fiancé forced upon him. They met by the sea. The sequel's heroine. Her illustrations are unbelievably beautiful. I replayed it so many times. Akali said she had revealed her Sacred Prayer power on purpose. Once word of it spread, she could marry her beloved Yakesi. She had come to make the heroine step aside willingly. The heroine refused outright. Yakesi was not a game character. She would never give him to anyone else. But Akali was utterly confident. Any crown prince, once he learned of her power, would surely want her. With that, she tried to attack the heroine with magic. If she scarred the heroine's face, her engagement to Yakesi would naturally be broken. She would do anything for her happiness. Lightning, strike her down. At the crucial moment, a barrier suddenly formed around the heroine. Yakesi had arrived just in time, but the heroine's face was still scratched. When Yakesi suddenly appeared, Akali immediately put on her innocent act again. She tearfully claimed that her Sacred Prayer power had awakened, but Prince Heart intended to force her into marriage. So she begged Yakesi to take her to his country. Even the heroine's father could not bear to watch. Did she not say she liked Prince Heart? Akali told the Chancellor to be quiet. She even tried to brainwash Yakesi, saying that if he made her his nation would become more prosperous. But Yakesi already knew that she possessed Sacred Prayer. Even without such a power, he could make his country prosper. The only person he needed was the heroine. Akali broke down. She refused to accept that ending. But she was arrested once again. She was locked in a room sealed by magic, where the most magic she could use was conjuring a little water. A prince will come rescue me, I just know it. This is an Otome game too. Who is it? At that moment, Prince Heart suddenly came to visit. Akali instantly changed her expression and warmly greeted him. Even when Heart said he would marry her, Akali had no intention of refusing. Heart could not understand why. He had heard rumors that Akali liked Prince Yakesi. What he did not know was that she liked every prince. She did not care if people called her a shameless player. She simply loved everything about this dating game world. That was why she adored every prince. Afterward, the heroine bid farewell to her parents. She followed Yakesi back to his homeland. The heroine gathered her courage to act sweetly toward Yakesi. This is my limit. Honestly, Tiara, you are so adorable. Then a letter suddenly appeared out of thin air inside the carriage. It was from Akali. In it, Akali said she had decided to work hard at building a happy life with Prince Heart, so the heroine had to be happy too. At the end, Akali deliberately wrote her encouragement in the language of their former world. She told her never to lose to the sequel's heroine. Lord Yakesi, may I have that letter? You may, but whenever I feel like giving up, I will read this letter to encourage myself. I will not lose either. The heroine never imagined that the male lead's country was protected by 3 fairy kings. The forest fairy king blessed it with fertile lands and abundant harvest. The sky fairy king brought fresh air and plentiful rain. The ocean fairy king brought rich bounty from the sea. That was how the kingdom prospered. The moment she entered the country, she saw sea fairies in the ocean. But when the heroine approached, the sea fairies immediately said they disliked her. Instead, they were very fond of her maid, Villain. Seeing the heroine look upset, the prince comforted her, secretly relieved. At least he would not have to worry about fairies stealing her away. Then a blue-haired woman suddenly emerged from the sea. The prince called her Era. The heroine immediately recalled what Akali had said. The sequel's heroine was named Era. In the original story, the male lead was forced into an engagement by his country. Distraught, he went to the shore to clear his mind. There, the two met by chance, watching the prince and Era chatting happily. The heroine began to feel uneasy. She feared her role as the first game's villainous heiress had not changed in the sequel. A sudden ache filled her heart. She could only return to the carriage and rest. Instead, she somehow wandered into the forest. She never expected the sequel's heroine to appear so soon. Thinking someone might steal Yakesi away, she had no idea what expression to wear when she returned. This is so troubling. Are you troubled? As soon as she spoke, several forest fairies appeared above her head. But unlike the sea fairies, the forest fairies blessed her at once. What's your name? I am Tiara Rose Lapis Clawmendel. Hello, Tiara. We love Tiara. The guards secretly following nearby could hardly believe it. Forest fairies had never liked humans. When the fairies saw the heroine was downcast, they brought her edible flowers. They contained fairy blessings. Eat them, eat them. They're delicious. At last, the heroine reached the royal palace. The king would hold a welcome party for her in 2.5 days. The prince was terribly impatient. Whenever no one was around, he eagerly clung to her. I wish time could fast forward. Waiting another year to marry is far too long. He wanted to make the heroine his wife immediately. Unfortunately, she needed a year of bridal training. On the day of the welcome party, Villain styled her hair in the fashionable half-up princess style, but they struggled to choose a hair accessory. She wanted something special, unlike her usual look. A passing maid suggested using the flowers in her hands. They had just been picked from the palace garden. They were flowers unique to the kingdom. The heroine asked whether there were any deep blue flowers. They would match the prince's hair color. They should suit the prince perfectly. Unfortunately, blue flowers were not in bloom this season. Then a miracle happened. Every flower on the tray instantly turned blue. The maid was astonished. She guessed it was a gift from the forest fairies. The heroine was the only person in the kingdom blessed by forest fairies. Blessings from sea or sky fairies were still occasionally granted to others. How wonderful. Miss Tiara Rose is so fortunate. Yes, she is. At the party, the heroine and prince shared the first dance. My future wife is so adorable, the prince praised. You look beautiful with those blue roses. They're the same color as my hair. They make me feel as though you belong entirely to me. The heroine replied, I am yours. Then they approached the king and queen. Both warmly welcomed her. The heroine had made up her mind. No matter what happened next, she would not run away again. But the very thing she feared happened. Era stepped forward to greet them. She even invited the heroine to her home, and it was hard to refuse such kindness. The heroine reluctantly agreed. That's wonderful. I will do everything I can to welcome you. Thank you. She had not wanted anything to do with Era, yet they had suddenly grown closer. Now that she was actually visiting, she felt miserable. The heroine was led into Era's vast courtyard. The central pool held many fish she had never seen. The fountain pool was actually filled with seawater. Those fish were rare species from Era's sea. The heroine was speechless. she really was the sequel's heroine. Her character setting was practically flawless. It was the kingdom's finest seaside residence, with a breathtaking view of the ocean. Era invited her to explore the sea. Era possessed the sea fairy's blessing, which let her breathe underwater. It wrapped her body in air, so she could dive in wearing her current clothes. The heroine was astonished again. As expected of an all-powerful heroine, she casually asked if Era had someone she liked, but Era had already decided to leave her engagement entirely to her father. She would be happy as long as she could stay in the sea. After all, no man had ever courted her. The heroine could tell she was not lying. Era then used magic to enclose them in spheres of air. That was how they safely reached the seafloor. Playing with the fish, Era looked like a sea goddess. The kingdom's signature jewelry was made from undersea coral. Seeing that the heroine enjoyed walking on the seafloor, Era told her to stay a while longer. She would return first and prepare tea. The heroine began to blame herself. Era was so wonderful, yet she had been jealous for no reason. But as soon as she surfaced, she saw the prince and Era on shore, doing something she could not make out. How could this happen? Why? Is this the game's power? Have I really come between them? But the heroine had promised not to run away again. She hurried ashore and pleaded sweetly, "Don't leave me behind. You really are adorable." While the heroine was walking through the palace that day, the forest fairies appeared and invited her to play. She shared the pastries she had made with them. Afterward, the fairies led her to a glowing flower. She followed the glowing passage into an indoor chamber. There, she encountered the Forest Fairy King. "Are you Tiara Rose, a king? The Forest Fairy King?" The heroine never imagined her feared outcome of losing her princely fiancé would not happen. Instead, her fiancé and the overbearing Fairy King fought over her. Just moments earlier, forest fairies had brought her to their king's home. The Forest King turned out to be domineering. He was not angered by her intrusion. Instead, he demanded she call him by name. He also saw through the secret of her unique soul. It is unstable, but a beautiful soul, and it has a lovely scent. Lord Keith, perhaps it is the scent of this. Don't call me Lord. Just call me Keith. But call me Keith. Oh, okay. How can a fairy king be so overbearing? After tasting it, the Fairy King realized it contained the heroine's magic. No wonder it was so delicious. The heroine envied the fairy's freedom. Humans had far too many social rules. They made her feel exhausted. But the Fairy King acted as though they were already close. He promised to become her strongest ally. Meanwhile, the prince was speaking with Era, the sequel's heroine. They were designing the best hair accessory for the heroine. Era did not hide her envy of the heroine. She wished she had someone who adored her so deeply. Then a guard suddenly appeared to report that forest fairies had taken the heroine away. After learning she was the prince's fiancée, the Fairy King became curious what the prince was like. The heroine proudly listed the prince's virtues. He was so exceptional that she felt unworthy of him. Speaking of the prince reminded her that she needed to return. The Fairy King showed no restraint. He held her slender waist and teleported her straight to her bedroom. The prince arrived moments later. Seeing another man beside the heroine, the prince instinctively drew his sword. "I am better suited to you than this man. Fairy King, please stop." The Fairy King? Upon learning who he was, the prince quickly apologized for his earlier behavior. But the heroine was his fiancée. Even a Fairy King should not get so close. Otherwise, people might question his character. "Tiara, it seems he loves you deeply. That is because you gave him the wrong idea." The Fairy King looked unconcerned. He kissed her hand, then left the palace. Afterward, the heroine could clearly sense the prince was angry. But he was not truly angry. More accurately, he was jealous. And the reason was her use of a name. She realized it was because she had called the Fairy King by his name. Yet she always used a title for the prince. Does Lord Yakesi want me to call him that too? But may I do that? Still, when they were alone, why Yakesi? Like that? Before she knew it, a month had passed since she came to the kingdom. She had finished the bridal course expected to take 6 months. The prince hoped to have some of her time later. He wanted her to see him at work, so she could understand him better. After that, the heroine studied even harder. She never expected that even if Era visited for work, she would come and go from the prince's office so often. So she wanted to help the prince more. The next day, she planned to use desserts she made herself to help the prince recover from fatigue. Luckily, the forest fairies thoughtfully brought plenty of ingredients. "Fill in. Open your mouth." The flowers gifted by the forest fairies are edible. So delicious. They have a natural sweetness, with no bitterness at all. The prince was delighted to see the cake she had made. As expected, her desserts were wonderful. But then a maid brought in another cake. It was a new cake created by Era's family chef. Since the heroine had been visiting often lately, they thought it best to prepare some desserts. They had not expected the 2 cakes to arrive at once. The heroine did not mind. After all, desserts were her favorite. You look so happy when you eat sweets. It makes me want to watch you forever. I will bring more desserts. But the guard unwittingly interfered. He casually asked the prince which cake he preferred. Outwardly, neither girl reacted, but both cared deeply about his answer. His moment of hesitation left the heroine upset. Then the fairy king suddenly appeared and declared the heroine's cake was obviously better. He acted as though the prince were not there. Then he affectionately stroked the heroine's head. I already made this clear before. Please do not touch my fiancé. Oh. Did you? Later, the prince could not stop praising the heroine's cake, though he did not usually like sweets. The desserts she made were different. The reason he had not answered earlier was that Era needed to remain in good spirits, especially while she stayed at the castle. After all, she was blessed by the sea fairies. If Era became unhappy, the sea fairies would sense her emotions. That could affect the ocean itself. But if Era felt happy, the kingdom would receive the sea's blessing. The heroine suddenly awoke from a dream in the middle of the night. She dreamed of her former life, when she had seen an illustration of a handsome man soaked after falling into the water. It was the only illustration from the sequel she had seen before reincarnating. The prince had apparently fallen into the sea while walking along the shore, leaving him drenched. It was also a key event in his romance with Era, the game's heroine. So as long as he did not go to the beach, everything would be fine. But of course, the very thing she feared happened. The next day, the prince was due to inspect the coast with Era. Seeing the heroine was distressed, the prince approached and gently asked what was wrong. But she did not want her feelings to disrupt his work. Please, do not say any more. I will not stop until you tell me properly. Please do not. Please do not go to the beach. The prince immediately agreed not to go. He would send someone else to inspect it. After all, the heroine was what mattered most to him. Later, the prince planned to take the heroine and Era to pick someone up. They could enjoy the rose garden along the way. But the heroine never expected Era to stumble backward while picking a flower. In the end, the prince still fell into the water. The dripping wet handsome prince. The heroine was devastated. The force of the game's events seemed impossible to defy. She could not stop the game from unfolding. Heartbroken, she ran back to her room. The fairy king appeared, taking the chance to steal her away. If you are hurting, then come to my side. Ignoring the heroine's protest, he forcibly took her to his palace. By the time the prince caught up, it was too late. Seeing petals left on the ground, he instantly knew the fairy king had been there. The heroine demanded to know what the fairy king wanted, but he merely conjured a huge bed of flowers. The heroine had not even noticed how terrible her complexion was. She should sleep first. Not enough sleep? It is your skin's greatest enemy. But I already. She must be hurting. I am taking a nap with Tiara. The heroine was the prince's future consort, beloved by the forest fairies. The fairy king recalled that Era was beloved by the sea fairies. Humans were troublesome enough, but sea fairies were just as troublesome. If something bad happened to Era, the ocean would turn a murky red. Every creature in the sea would die. The last time it happened was centuries ago. Meanwhile, the prince finally found records showing that a path to the forest fairy king's throne was connected to the royal capital. But the next moment, the fairy king appeared and announced that the heroine belonged to him now. She is mine now. The heroine never imagined that reincarnating as an Otome game's villainess would lead to such a wonderful life. On one side stood a prince of the water buffalo beast folk. On the other stood the fiercely domineering forest fairy king. They were even fighting over her. Not long ago, the forest fairy king had forcibly taken her away to rest. The moment she woke up, forest fairies began eagerly feeding her. Try this too. They are strawberries and apples. I cannot waste the fairies' kindness. I will eat as much as I can. I cannot eat this much. Once full, she finally remembered she needed to return to the castle. But the fairies could not bear to let her leave. When she promised to play with them again next time, the fairies showed her the way. Yet they led her into a kitchen. They said the fairy king had prepared it especially for her. Beside it were fresh flowers of every flavor to use as seasonings. The forest fairies wanted the heroine to make desserts. Though she desperately wanted to return to the prince, she could not resist the fairies' pleading faces. She knew she would not be going home unless she made desserts. Soon, she made a large tray of cupcakes. Each fairy took one and happily devoured it, though they had promised to take her to the exit. When she opened the door, she saw only the fairy king's throne. The cold hues surrounding it gave the place a lonely feeling. She knew the prince would worry about her. She had to return at once. Just as she felt jealous seeing the prince with another woman, she did not want the prince to see her with the fairy king, nor did she want to deepen their misunderstanding. Who is Lord Yakesi? My fiancé. The person Tiara loves. Yes, I love him most of all. Then the fairy king suddenly appeared behind her. Ignoring her protest, he simply pulled her into his arms. The fairy king did not understand why she was in such a rush to leave. Of course, she did not want to cause the prince any more trouble, nor did she want to be a burden to him. But she did not realize that from the moment she received the forest fairy's blessing, she had already made an immense contribution to the entire kingdom. The fairy king sighed. Humans truly were troublesome. He told the heroine to simply wait quietly, because not long before, the prince had finally found the path to the Fairy King. Though he faced countless traps deliberately set by the Fairy King, he had still managed to reach this place. Seeing the heroine in the Fairy King's arms, the jealous prince ordered him to stay away from his fiancée. The Fairy King refused. No. Even if I must fight, I will take her back. I cannot let this happen because of me. I cannot let the Human King and Fairy King fight. Please stop. The heroine tried to persuade the prince to calm down, but even against the Fairy King, she could not let him hurt someone she cared about. Do not be ridiculous. Tiara has been anxious this whole time. You caused all of this. No matter who you are, even the Fairy King, I will not give Tiara up. The Fairy King told the heroine to watch from the throne. What followed was a battle between men, but he was the king of the forest fairies. The prince was an exceptional fighter, but he was still only mortal. He could not possibly be a match for the Fairy King. With a casual strike, the Fairy King easily blasted through a wall. Only then did she realize they were atop a mountain. It was the highest mountain in the kingdom. From there, he could see everything in the kingdom. It was as if he had silently watched over the land all along. As their battle grew fiercer, the heroine did not want either of them hurt because of her. So she made an incredibly reckless decision. As their attacks collided, she suddenly rushed between them. Tiara, wind. At last, the prince held the heroine tightly again. The heroine apologized. The prince made time for her every day, so she should never have been jealous of Era. Learning that she had been jealous because of him, the prince was overwhelmed by love. Even now, all he could think about was kissing her. Tiara, hold on to me tightly. Oh, okay. Even though this is so dangerous, I do not feel afraid at all. Lord Yakesi will definitely protect me. The prince finally revealed the truth. He was someone blessed by the Sky Fairies. The Sky Fairy King had been watching over the prince all along. He simply had not expected the prince to be so reckless. He had actually challenged a Fairy King. So, with the Sky Fairy King's help, the prince temporarily gained the power of flight. By then, the heroine had cleared her mind. The things that had troubled her before now seemed like nothing more than trivial matters. Still, afterward, the heroine angrily scolded them both. They were never to do something like that again. Yet the two still could not stop competing over her. Helplessly, she knew only cooperation between the Human King and the Fairy King could make this kingdom prosper even more. But she could not think of a way to make them get along. Then the forest fairies suddenly appeared to lend a hand. They brought the cupcakes she had just made. The heroine suddenly had an idea. She loved the prince, and she also wanted to work with the forest fairies. So, you can each have half. Tiara, are you not going to support this kingdom with us? Go on, eat. So sweet. Try this one too. The heroine was delighted. The flowers they gave her seemed twice as sweet. After finishing their cakes, the two who had just argued both looked as if they wanted more. Little did she know that, in the fairy's eyes, the heroine seemed to be the true king. Indeed, it is as if two kings have submitted to me. Tiara truly is interesting. That is not funny at all. The heroine never imagined that just as she was about to marry the prince, he would pull another outrageous stunt. At the sight of another girl crying, he froze in place. Not long ago, the heroine had just completed her bridal training. After a year away, she had finally returned to her family home. But then an unexpected visit arrived. It was Akali, who had once stolen the prince who was the heroine's first fiancé. Her father angrily prepared to throw her out. The heroine understood why her family was angry, but she still insisted on seeing Akali. They were both reincarnated souls. A year ago, they had put their past grievances behind them. Akali had even written to cheer her on. She had told her to beat the sequel's heroine no matter what. Her father reluctantly agreed, but Prince Aquistede had to accompany her. Since Akali married Prince Heart and reached the game's ending, life afterward had felt like starting a new game. Everything felt fresh and exciting. Then she suddenly remembered. Congratulations to you both on your upcoming wedding. Thank you, Miss Jury. I can picture it. You actually beat the sequel's heroine. I can practically hear her saying that. When Akali learned the heroine was disliked by the sea fairies, she was not surprised at all. She had brought 2 pairs of earrings as wedding gifts. They were protective charms infused with sacred prayer. Their colors matched their respective hair colors. After all, if you are going to wear them, the color of the person you love suits you best. So, I have a pair too. Yellow is Lord Harknight's hair color, but Lord Harknight's is still sulking over it. Still, Lord Harknight's has been incredibly adorable lately. When I said I wanted to see Miss Tiara, he came along with me. The prince was quite surprised. He had not expected the heroine and Akali to become such good friends. That is true. After all, I was once attacked by Miss Akali, but now, we are like partners determined to defeat the sequel's heroine. The heroine? The prince was completely baffled, but the heroine was filled with memories. Back then, the prince had come personally to save her. I know full well, there are things Tiara cannot tell me, but you had better be prepared. You are welcome to be affectionate, but please do it somewhere I cannot see. Sorry, I do not mind, though. You must be happy. Soon, it was the night before the wedding. An unexpected guest suddenly arrived at the door. The heroine worried it might be Era, the sequel game's heroine. And her fears came true. The maid reported that it was indeed Era. Seeing that Era had come specifically to congratulate her, the heroine thought she might have misunderstood. Perhaps Era did not like the prince at all. Seeing her expression, Era guessed what she was thinking and said she knew nothing about love. As for marriage, her father would find her an excellent match. The heroine knew this was caused by her interference. If not for her, Era would have grown close to Prince Aquistide, the sequel's romance target. I should not apologize at a time like this, but Miss Yixila, do not say it. What? Then Akali suddenly appeared. Up close, Era looked exactly like she had in the game. But if Era was the heroine, she should be happier than this. Please do not say anything rude to Miss Yixila. Oh dear. I am terribly sorry. If I made you uncomfortable, please forgive me. And no, it is all right. I will not take it to heart. Akali had come to see the lucky girl who became the sequel's heroine. After all, a heroine should be enjoying her life. But Era was doing nothing of the sort. You two are so close. Exactly, Miss Yixila is right. I am Miss Tiara's friend. After all, I am extremely worried about Miss Tiara. Worried about being by Lord Aquistide's side. My friend's husband? Era was utterly bewildered and hurriedly apologized to the heroine. She promised to be more careful from now on, learning that the prince would arrive soon. Era immediately left first. Only then did the heroine notice. The ribbon Era wore matched the prince's hair color. Later, the heroine asked what Akali had planned to do to Era. Akali said she merely wanted to see the sequel's ending, but she left the heroine with a cryptic hint. The next day, at the wedding, Akali's warning from the night before still haunted her. Yixila had never intended anything of the sort. She had no romantic feelings for Prince Aquistide at all. After all, the prince was far too exceptional for someone like her. The heroine put on her wedding gown, but inwardly, she was a nervous wreck. The ending Akali had said she wanted to see might mean something would happen at today's wedding. As the bride and groom entered, Yixila's heart suddenly ached for no reason. I did not fall in love with Prince Aquistide. Why? Do I actually love him? Could it be that these feelings were never just respect? Prince Aquistide. Seeing Era about to rise and cause a scene, Akali quickly grabbed her and held her back. So she really did love Aquistide. Era's world came crashing down. Was this heart-shattering feeling what love was? Even Akali had not expected the game scene to truly happen. In the original story, a romance target would marry someone else. As the heroine, Era could intervene. The condition was that she had to wear a ribbon matching that romance target's color. To be honest, Akali loved this part of the story. A groom with the bride already chosen, yet he chooses me instead. Just thinking about it was thrilling. But even so, she would not let anyone ruin the wedding of a friend who was happier than anyone else. Funny. I feel the same. The Forest Fairy King suddenly appeared and spoke. He issued a blunt warning. If Era dared to ruin the heroine's romance, he would not let it slide. I would never dare do such a thing. I will obey the Fairy King's wishes. But even so, watching the man she loved marry another woman could not possibly leave her unhurt. Yet the prince was still affected by the story's script. The sight of Era crying left him frozen in place. The heroine panicked, afraid she would lose the prince. If the prince chose Era before the ceremony, would that not be the end of everything for her? Lord Aquistide. Because I too love Lord Aquistide more than anyone. I want to be with Lord Aquistide forever. Tiara. The prince realized he had made the heroine anxious again, so he swept her into his arms before everyone. He carried her over to Era and openly showed his devotion. The heroine was the only one he loved. All he could offer Era was an apology, because the prince was so forthright. Era was finally able to let go. Nothing else went wrong at the wedding. The two were married smoothly amid their guest blessings. For the heroine, this was where the real world truly began. She would never again be manipulated by the game. HMPH. Love is so boring. The heroine never imagined that just as she became close friends with the Sky Fairy King, the petty Ocean Fairy King would come to hate her. Palu hated men, fiercely defended her own, and was extremely jealous. She hated how close the heroine was to the Sky Fairy King. She resented Tiara for taking the princess consort position that should have belonged to Era, the girl she blessed. She was also jealous that the Forest Fairy King had willingly blessed and protected the heroine. Even after the heroine and prince had been married for a year, the Ocean Fairy King still allowed the Ocean Fairies to prank her. HMPH. Love is the most boring thing ever. Although they had been married for a year, the spark between them had not faded at all. Would you like to try one? I am only feeding you one piece. Later, the heroine unexpectedly discovered that some of the cookies she baked kept mysteriously disappearing. The servants would never dare take them without permission. Nor did the heroine believe the forest fairies would do such a thing. Yet while the two were talking, another cookie disappeared. Left with no choice, the heroine went to ask the forest fairies. They said they knew nothing about it. If they took anything without permission, the Fairy King would scold them, and they had no mischievous magic that could make cookies disappear. The maid suggested discussing it with the prince, but the heroine did not want to disturb his work over such a minor matter. That evening, The first thing the prince did when he came home was ask whether anything had happened that day. She chose to hide the strange incident from him, but unbeknownst to her, the maid had asked a guard to tell the prince everything. There is no sign of hostility yet, but please stay alert. Why are you so adorable? How can I get you to confess? Lord Aquistede. Well, seeing the prince's knowing smile, the heroine knew he was already aware of everything. He would dote on her relentlessly until she told him the whole story. The heroine had no choice but to confess. What? You were going to tell me so soon. Please do not look so disappointed. Lately, desserts had been disappearing frequently. Rather than a person, the prince suspected the fairies were responsible, but the forest fairies would never do such a thing. The prince assured her there was no need to worry. He would take care of everything. After all, his wife's cookies belonged to him too. Ever since he had won the heroine's heart, he had decided never to tolerate such things again. What? Meanwhile, the ocean fairies returned to their fairy king with the stolen desserts. They had taken them only to avenge Era. The ocean fairy king spoke with disgust. Throw those pastries away. She had no interest in human desserts, and love was even more tedious. Later, the heroine told the prince what had happened. The ocean fairies had always hated her, so she never expected them to want her homemade desserts. She did not know how to feel about it. The prince could only sigh. She was still far too kind. She had not even realized they were playing a prank on her. The two went to Era's estate and brought up the matter. Era did not know where to begin. Although they had been married for more than a year, Era still could not escape the pain of heartbreak. She truly had sworn to bless their marriage, but her tears truly would not stop. The ocean fairies were angry. They believed the heroine had stolen Era's beloved. That was why they decided to prank the heroine as revenge. But Era could not bring herself to say that. She did not want to cause any more needless pain. Instead, she promised to visit the ocean fairy king and ask her to improve the situation. Seeing that the heroine was still thinking of her, Era felt guilty for causing the heroine trouble. She felt deeply guilty. She confessed that the ocean fairies had stolen the desserts because of her. The heroine comforted Era and told her she did not have to force herself to say it. She did not need to worry either. The heroine was not bothered. If the desserts were gone, she could simply make more. One day, while the heroine was reading in the garden, a strange gust of wind suddenly blew. When she came to her senses, a handsome blue-haired man had appeared beside her. What a handsome man. How am I supposed to handle this situation? May I ask who you are? To her surprise, he was Krell, the Sky Fairy King. Seeing the Fairy King's eyes fixed on the desserts, the heroine generously invited him to try some. She already knew that the prince had received the Sky Fairy King's blessing, but learning that she had come specifically to see her made the heroine feel awkward and uneasy. She feared the Fairy King might give her an unsuitable mark. The Fairy King noticed her concern. He believed the heroine was an excellent princess consort. Her magic was even woven into the desserts. They were wonderfully soothing to eat. Fairies did not actually need to eat, but seeing the exquisite treats the heroine had made him want to reveal himself and try them. The heroine immediately agreed. As long as she did not mind, the heroine would be happy to make them for her anytime. And from then on, she often held girls' tea parties with Krell. Aquistede, why are you acting like this? It is rare for Tiara Rose and me to have a girls' gathering. A man joining us would ruin it. You have some nerve saying that. I am delighted to have tea with you both. Oh, Tiara Rose, you are such a sincere, good girl. It is unfair that Aquistede gets to have Tiara all to himself. Do not approach Tiara unless necessary. I will have less time with my adorable Tiara. Lord Aquistede. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Era visited the Ocean Fairy King's palace for the first time. When she said she had come on behalf of the princess consort, the Fairy King immediately guessed why. Following her gaze, Era looked toward a nearby trash can. It was filled with all kinds of pastries stolen from the heroine. Why did you do this? Why? Do I really need to explain? The Ocean Fairy King absolutely despised Tiara Rose. The heroine never imagined that the Ocean Fairy King was a proud, lovesick woman who could not admit her feelings. She loved the Sky Fairy King, but refused to admit it. Instead, she had decided the heroine was her rival. So she manipulated Era into drugging the prince, just to make the heroine experience the pain of having her beloved stolen. When Era first visited the palace of Palu, the Fairy King, she was shocked to find the heroine's desserts in the trash. She could not understand why Palu hated the heroine. She assumed it was because she loved the prince. Palu angrily told her not to flatter herself. Learning that Era knew something about the heroine's relationships, Palu asked whether she knew anything about Krell. Era had never even heard of him. Palu was annoyed. This had been a complete waste of time. She immediately threw Era out of the palace. Palu was angry because Krell had promised to have tea with her, yet he always ended up with the heroine instead. You said you would come here for tea. If I just use this. Afterward, Era reported that she had been thrown out before resolving anything. She had also been forbidden from entering the underwater palace. As they spoke, the Sky and Farce Fairy Kings appeared together. Tiara, It has been a long time. Krell brought coral red tea as a gift. The tea had actually been given to him by Palu. It smells wonderful, does it not? Tiara is my wife. Do not stand so close to her. Aquastede, you are so cold. If you do not hold on tight, I might steal her away. My heart belongs only to Lord Aquastede. Mine is too. You really dote on her. I am so jealous. Suddenly, Palu appeared from inside the teacup. Only then did the heroine realize that she was the Ocean Fairy King. But Palu was still furious. She was angry that Krell, despite being a man, dressed like that. The heroine was shocked to learn that the Sky Fairy King was a man. Seeing the gift she had given Krell passed on to the heroine, Palu was consumed by jealousy. She called Krell an idiot and left. Era could not get a word in and quietly left. Krell helplessly explained that Palu hated men, which was why he deliberately dressed that way. He had hoped it would bring him closer to Palu. Keith pointed out that even if Krell liked her, cross-dressing alone would never win her favor. The heroine was about to offer her opinion when the prince quietly reminded her that humans should not interfere in the affairs of fairy kings. But the heroine knew very well that Krell's belief that Palu hated him had to be a misunderstanding. If they missed each other because of a misunderstanding, it would be tragic for both fairy kings. Besides, Keith had clearly noticed their feelings. So, why had he not told them they loved each other? Krell wanted to give Palu a gift and hoped the heroine would help him choose it. She happily agreed. It was no trouble. Even afterward, the heroine kept thinking about it, rather than hating Krell. The heroine thought it looked more like love. We can have afternoon tea together. Exactly. Who would have thought the Ocean Fairy King would appear in person? Palu demanded to know what the heroine was plotting, trying to win over fairy kings with delicious desserts. She had to be after something. The heroine tried to invite her to the tea party. What are you saying? How can I possibly have tea with you? I will invite Lord Krell too. He wants to meet Lady Pearl too. I told you. I am sure he will be delighted. You casually invite a fairy king to tea. You have no sense of propriety. That is enough for today. If your behavior becomes any more outrageous, I have ways of dealing with you. Lady Pearl, Silence. I am the Ocean Fairy King. You will not defy me. You are forbidden from approaching the king again. You are forbidden from approaching Krell again. The next day, the heroine gently declined to help Krell choose a gift. Outside, dark clouds suddenly gathered with lightning and thunder. The heroine knew he must be upset. She hurriedly explained that a gift for someone you love should not be chosen with someone of the opposite sex. For a girl, she would surely want her gift to be chosen personally by the one who loves her. Once the misunderstanding was cleared up, the sky became bright and cloudless again. So Krell went to a jewelry shop alone. Unbeknownst to him, Palu had been watching from the shadows. Red is lovely, but the colors of the sky and sea are wonderful too. Will she be happy? Seeing that Krell still intended to give the heroine a gift and was smiling so happily, only made Palu feel worse. Her mood began affecting the sea itself. An ocean fairy appeared with a warning. The fairy king is very angry right now. Before the words had faded, Palu appeared in person. She believed the heroine had deceived Krell, so she gave an order. Era was to take the prince away from the heroine. She handed Era an ocean love potion. All she had to do was add 1 drop of Era's blood, then find a way to make the prince drink it. Then the prince would love Era instead. The one I love. Then this is a love potion. If I have this, Prince Aquastede will fall in love with me. I know I must not do this. Prince Aquastede's feelings are not mine to control. But Krell suddenly appeared and asked what was going on. Palu, too proud to admit her feelings, fled back into the sea without giving him a chance to talk. He could only ask Era. Learning that Palu thought the heroine had deceived him, Krell could only sigh helplessly. After all, the heroine and prince were clearly deeply in love. Those words unsettled Era once again. She quietly hid the potion in her hand. Meanwhile, the heroine planned to make cookies shaped like everyone. But just after she finished Krell's cookie, Palu appeared again and demanded, was she planning to deceive Krell with something like that? The heroine tried to explain that there was one for everyone, but Palu was blinded by jealousy and would not listen. That schemer would not be smug for much longer. Palu would make her taste the same pain. Afterward, the heroine was deeply worried. She saw that Era was troubled as well, so she suggested afternoon tea to calm their nerves. Era deliberately offered to help. Watching the couple lavish affection on each other, Era felt unbearable pain in her heart. In the end, she secretly dropped her blood into the potion. Then she added it to the tea and served it to the prince. No, please do not drink the tea. The prince was startled by her outburst. He reflexively swallowed the tea already in his mouth. Only then did Era confess that she had added a love potion to the tea. In the next moment, under the potion's influence, the prince comforted Era not to cry in the tender voice he used for the heroine. He even said he would take Era to inspect the shore first. Era, shameless as ever, eagerly seized the opportunity. She did not care at all how the heroine felt. God, how many more trials must I endure? No, look at me, Lord Aquastede. The heroine never could have imagined that she had treated the blue-haired girl as her best friend, only for her to use a potion to steal her husband. Even after being caught, Era apologized and claimed she knew she was wrong, but she could not hide the delight on her face. Yet once he was away from Era, he gradually began to break free of the potion's influence. The potion's power was terrifying. Whenever Era appeared before him, things became dangerous. He wanted to call the heroine's name, but his mouth would not obey him. Meanwhile, Luosi Palu, the Ocean Fairy King, recalled the past. She had once loved a human, but he abandoned her and chose another woman. Later, Krell, the Sky Fairy King, helped her heal from that heartbreak. Then the heroine suddenly appeared and became too close to Krell. Palu thought she would have to endure that same pain again. Her overwhelming negative emotions turned the sea completely black. The two fairy kings could only look on helplessly. The last time this happened was 700 years ago. This time, the cause was Krell. Palu mistakenly believed the heroine had deceived him, but Krell was secretly a little pleased. It meant Pearl was jealous over him. Elsewhere, the prince fell under the potion's influence again. His body no longer obeyed his will. It seemed to crave Yixila. The heroine and Yixila caught up with him then. The heroine reached out to touch him, but the prince's body reacted by rejecting her. But the moment Era spoke, Yixila, Lord Aquistede, no. Yixila was such a two-faced schemer. She had barely apologized before forgetting all about it. Now she gazed lovingly at another woman's husband right in front of his wife. He is the person I love most in this world. Tiara, why am I such a fool? At last, the prince broke free of the potion's influence again. Everyone is free to hate the prince's deep, bellowing voice, but that move was undeniably manly. Then his usual gentle voice finally returned. He apologized, saying he should never have let a potion overpower him. His voice was as sweet as ever. I actually lost to a potion. I cannot forgive myself for being so weak. You are not weak at all. Thank you. Yixira's smile vanished at once. At last, the heroine and prince arrived at the shore. Krell apologized on Pearl's behalf. Palu had caused the heroine so much trouble. The heroine blamed herself too, though it was all a misunderstanding. It was true that Pearl had been hurt. Yixila shamelessly stepped forward again to steal the spotlight. She apologized and said it was all her fault. She was the one who made the prince drink the Fairy King's potion. Learning that Palu likely had an antidote, Yixila wanted to dive into the sea despite the danger. But in the sea's current state, even the Fairy Kings considered it dangerous. Any human who went in would be dead in seconds. The prince said his situation could wait. Their urgent priority was to resolve the sea's upheaval, but he did not know how to do that, so he could only ask the other Fairy Kings for help. Seeing the heroine plead alongside him, Keith, the Forest Fairy King, explained why there were 3 Fairy Kings. If one Fairy King became lost in anguish and caused disturbances in nature, the remaining Fairy Kings could set nature right again. Strictly speaking, nature was healed by the humans blessed by those 2 Fairy Kings. The prince and his wife could use their magic together to heal the sea. The heroine never expected that a villainess like her would be entrusted with something so important, but she believed in the prince. The heroine only needed to use Keith's power to awaken the trees, then purify the sea through them. But because the heroine was not the game's original protagonist, her own magical power was severely lacking. Then she remembered the cookies she had made that contained her magic. They could replenish her magical power. It works. I can feel magic surging through me. In an instant, countless purification trees sprang up along the beach. Their roots absorbed the polluted seawater. The prince then used wind magic to blow the purification trees' leaves into the sea. In moments, the Black Sea returned to normal. As rain began to fall, the prince felt the potion in his body being purified as well. After eating the cookies, your magic flowed into my body. That must be why. Thank goodness. Tiara, I love you. Lord Aquistede truly looks handsome dripping wet, but only I get to see Lord Aquistede like this. Your hand is so warm. Sorry for touching you with wet hands. I wish you would touch me more. As the two shamelessly flaunted their affection, Keith could only tell them, exasperated, to show some restraint. Krell summoned a warm wind to dry them off, but the next moment, the surrounding trees suddenly burst into bloom. They were a new species born from Tiara's magic. Even more incredibly, sugar appeared inside the buds. Tiara, I am fine. Look. It is deliciously sweet sugar. Lord Aquistede. Tiara's fingers are so sweet. Have you had enough? All you do is make people jealous. Tiara is my wife. Next, Krell prepared to enter the sea and speak with Pearl. After all, he was the angriest about what happened. Unlike Keith, the Forest Fairy King, Krell, the Sky Fairy King, was fond of humans. But Tiara suddenly said she would go underwater too. No matter what, she wanted to speak with Pearl. Yixila volunteered to accompany her. She knew she had been foolish and awful, trying to change the prince's heart with a love potion. Beautiful, kind-hearted Tiara chose to forgive her, and she would feel safer with Yixila along. Tiara knew that if she had not suddenly entered their lives, none of this would have happened today. So she had to witness with her own eyes the future of the 2 Fairy Kings and the ending of this game's sequel. Tiara never would have imagined it, but Pearl, the Ocean Fairy King, was the one most starved for love. To clear up the misunderstanding, the Sky Fairy King arrived at the Ocean Palace first. He explained that Pearl had said she hated men, which was why he had dressed as a woman before. But there was no need for that now. Though Fairy Kings were not blamed for causing natural disasters, they should not drag humans into their personal affairs. Pearl complained bitterly, asking why she was the only one being scolded. At first, the sea fairies had selfishly asked her to make Era happy, but she knew she could never separate the people who loved each other. Still, seeing the other fairy kings so happy with humans, while she alone endured loneliness, she remained stubbornly defensive. She insisted she was fine on her own. Unexpectedly, Tiara and Ashira barged into the palace after them. Palu's anger flared. She demanded to know what they were doing there. Tiara plainly said the prince was the only man she loved. What Pearl feared would never happen. Pearl envied Tiara for having a man who loved her, yet her own former lover had left her because the gap in their status was too great. He said humans and fairy kings could never remain together forever. Then he married a human woman, saying that so he would not forget Pearl. He would give her name to his descendants. Ashira was stunned. Could he have been her ancestor? You went through such a painful love. That is all in the past. Krell then took out the jewelry he had chosen for her. Tiara had said that when giving a gift to a woman you like, she would be happier if you chose it yourself. And sure, it suited her beautifully when placed in her hair. Could it be that you were jealous of Tiara? Not even